identifying the role of the environment in shaping experiences and perceptions, in influencing how one feels, which leads us to put attention on the environment with the goal of influencing the environment, with the goal of influencing how we feel, is not for the purpose of scapegoating the environment and absolving the individual of personal responsibility. Rather, it is arising out of the implicit and kind of forerunning proposition that arises out of an acknowledgement of the fundamental quality of polarity that humans are both the creators of our social environment in many senses, but we are also responding to our social environment. The conditions of our environment provoke responses. There are things that we can influence, impact, and change. There are things that we can't. I would prefer to say we can change almost everything about our lives and our environment. Some things can be changed faster than others. Some things take much longer to change, requiring more planning and long-term commitment and follow-through. That makes it still possible, but it takes more time. The reason for saying that is that if we must endure a particular environment for a longer period of time, we must also relate to that environment psychically, emotionally, cognitively, spiritually. We must endure it for longer. So identifying the role that the environment plays in how we are feeling is not a cop-out. It is not a displacement of responsibility. An internal locus of control is, or identifying in oneself an internal locus of control is an essential component, I think, to being able to live in the world in a way that is sustainable, where the world is not a constant enemy to battle, or an environment that is nothing but a threat to survive. Recognizing our place of, recognize our ability and ultimate, like the truth of our location of control is essential on the path, I think, of maturing psychically and emotionally. That need not be in conflict with the ability to recognize how the environment is something to deal with. So in recognizing how the environment is something that we deal with, how it generates, how it catalyzes our internal experience as we meet the environment with who and what we are, it's reasonable to identify deficiencies. There's probably a better word that doesn't sound maybe blaming. I don't use the word deficiency in a blaming sense, more of a way to, as a way to acknowledge that there is a gap between how things are and how things could be. Most things have potential to, right, like become improved, better versions of whatever it is. So it's just really important to, I think, recognize a tendency to scapegoat people who identify real deficiencies in the environment that are playing a real role in how people feel within that environment. Because how people feel within that environment affects how they are able to operate in that environment. It dictates to a degree the limits of activity, whether that be the verbal limits, personal autonomy, what have you. So I have vacillated between extreme positions of 100% accountability to the environment for how I feel, to 100% accountability to myself for how I feel. In each case, refusing to acknowledge that the other pole is playing a significant role, or the role that I'm attributing to it. And I think that was in an attempt to feel better. Ultimately, if I think to myself and I realize, oh, well, I don't feel good because I'm blaming capitalism. I have it all wrong. I have been misled to believe that the world is a terrible place. The United States is a terrible place. Our economic system is nothing but terrible. I think I would be existing in the Kleinian paranoid schizoid position. It all relates to like levels of development, I think, and then the realization of the depressive position, which my understanding is that it allows for a more nuanced conception and relationship to the environment, other people, institutions, systems, processes as whole things that include both constructive and destructive energies, or my ability to both love and hate at the same time is achieved in the depressive position, whereas the paranoid schizoid position requires an all or nothing stance on everything, right? So that would align with the environment is the cause of my problems, or I am the cause of all of my problems, right? Existing in one or the other position. It's an advancement, I believe, in personal evolution to be able to conceive, to comprehend social systems, whether that be a small social system of 2 people, a family of 3 or 4, a small organization, a work group, and then as we advance higher and higher to greater numbers of people, to conceive of those, every system as a dynamic system that holds responsibility in itself, while at the same time holding individuals accountable for their own experience. And it's profoundly important, I think, or it's evident, I'll just say it's evident, that the environment plays a significant role. So as a kind of extreme personal responsibility person, I can say without a doubt that it's significant to reflect on the experience of being a soldier in the United States Army, because that is an environment within which there is a lot of command and control of everything, including an individual's most basic liberties and freedoms, the way in which you walk, the way in which you talk. Your deepest values, ideals, and convictions are regulated, or there is an attempt to regulate everything about you. And so it becomes really evident in an extreme environment like that how control of the environment, or how the environment impacts your experience. How I can commit 150% at every moment to regulating my own experience, taking full responsibility and accountability for my experience, how I feel, and not blaming the environment, right? And then at some point, what happens is that taking accountability means turning one's capacity to affect change outwards, because the environment is structured in a way that is continually producing and reproducing unnecessary, seemingly meaningless hardship, right? So if we notice we're doing something to ourselves that is destructive and we don't want that, we can over time notice that and choose to refrain from doing that, therefore reducing or eliminating this catalyst of distress. Same thing in the world. We notice that some system or process or habit or norm is continually generating an unwanted effect. We can identify that and simply, right, like apply energy toward making a change. That is not blaming the environment in a pathological or avoidant way. So there's obviously different ways to do it, and each way will be a reflection of where you're at in your life and what your real, I guess, motivation is underneath. So consider it.